As a kid, I loved being outside and exploring and figuring out how things work. And I read a lot of books on archaeology. I was just fascinated by it. But I didn't think that that was something that normal people did. I thought you had to go off and do that in some exotic, faraway place. But when I started my undergraduate work at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in the 1980s, a long time ago, and I took my first introduction to archaeology class, I found out, oh, you know, people do this right here in the Midwest, and it just went on from there, and I never looked back. I was very lucky that the college that I went to, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, has a very strong Midwestern U.S. focus, or strong Western Great Lakes focus, research focus. It also has a strong focus on applied anthropology, or cultural resource management, essentially applied archaeology. When you go to work every day, you like to have the feeling that what you're doing matters, that it has a positive impact on something, a community, and something larger than yourself. I've been doing archaeology for almost 30 years now. I've worked for museums and private consulting companies and engineering firms and tribal governments, lots of different sorts of places. All of those other places were great places to work, but here at the Illinois State Archaeological Survey, I have the added opportunity and benefits of being able to work across disciplines, to the chance to try to solve problems in an interdisciplinary way. Archaeological sites contain a lot of information about how people were using and manipulating and altering the environment and the landscapes in the past. This is really interesting and fun information, but I think that it's also very relevant to the decisions that we need to make today about sustainability, resource protection, and use. So I think there are lessons to be learned there, as well as it being interesting. I think if we start from the premise that the preservation and the interpretation and the accessibility to archaeological sites and information is something that improves the quality of life for all of us, if we start from that assumption, then what I do at the Archaeological Survey is by proactively providing information to land managers and developers about archaeological sites that might be impacted by their plans, they can then use that information way ahead of time to avoid adverse impacts to those sites, or bring in interpretation of those sites into some project they might be working on. I think what we are going to see in the future is an increase in archaeologists and other types of resource scientists being more familiar with the needs and the points of view of other people, land managers, policymakers, politicians, constituents, the people who live in the communities where these resources are, as a two-way conversation about making compromises and choices about what each need. I think that literally every day I get to learn something new, more than one thing. I think, you know, before 10 a.m. every day I've learned 5 new things, and that's exciting. The work that the Illinois State Archaeological Survey does uses public monies toward the preservation of archaeological sites which are publicly owned or publicly held resources. I guess I see this as a public service